Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Property Venture Podcast. I'm Giancarlo Carangelo, joined with Anthony Lodgia, and today is part 2 with Shawn Armorer. Shawn, welcome back.
Thank you so much, guys. Great to be back.
I love it, Shawn. Honestly, even your name is perfect. Shawn Armorer, what a beautiful, perfect coaching name.
We could get into that later. My fight name was Shawn the Shining Armor.
Nice. We're definitely going to get into that a little bit later on. Oh, yeah.
There's a ring to it.
That's it. So, Shawn, I know, you've been in multiple dealerships and you've come across a ton of different teams. What's the number one mistake typically businesses make when trying to grow their business?
That's a great question. Again, my opinion. But what I have seen, because in my line of work as a BDC or business development consultant / coach, I'm not called upon when, the smoke billowing out of the dealership. I'm called when it's like fire, fix this yesterday, right? So
Last week.
So that's a great question, because I'm always in chaos. And the idea is to not fix the chaos, it's to organize the chaos. So the number one mistake that I believe that a lot of businesses make is not documenting their process, not having a flow to absolutely every single kind of customer touch point that you do. So if you look at a lot of businesses, I don't know how it is with you guys, but the onboarding process, I have never, ever came into an organization, well, in the automotive space, short of the Fortune 500 companies, but the onboarding process is where we fail immediately. So can you imagine if you fail at the start?
Right at the beginning.
At the beginning.
Yeah, you don't give yourself any chance to succeed.
So to answer your question, the absence of documented processes, standard operating processes, call flows, scripts, SOPs, exactly. This is beyond critical.
I love that you say this because, when I first got into the in my field, and I tell Anthony it's all the time, I lacked systems and processes and structure, right? And I was always kind of the spaghetti method.
Yeah,
throw a bunch of wet spaghetti at the wall, whatever sticks,
whatever,
right?
Correct.
And I was telling him all the time, I said, can you imagine if because we just started implementing a little bit of systems and processes a few years ago. And can you imagine if we started implementing these systems and processes from the beginning, how much we could have saved in losses,
God, yeah,
saved, right? Or just efficiency with working with clients, and how much we could have maximized our business.
And you know what, Giancarlo? We could have kept really good people.
Yeah.
And it's something.
Yeah, but hold on. You now know this, correct?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. 100%.
You have to go through that. So it's the same thing with the dealerships that I work with. Listen, guys, don't knock. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Well, now that you know, great. What are we prepared to do?
And Shawn, I don't know if it's too personal, but maybe can you share a case study of a dealership that you've helped turn around?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, all of them.
That's substantial.
Yeah, substantial would be definitely. So one of my biggest clients I was working with in Texas, Austin, Texas. So they were outsourcing their BDC department. So again, part 2, so customer service department, BDC department. They were outsourcing their BDC department for 5 years. And they made the decision to want to bring it in-house, which I absolutely recommend, because that's what I architect, right? It's very much an architecture. So what happens is when you bring it in-house, okay, great. Where do we start?
Yeah.
How do we hire? Who do we hire? What's the pay plan? What are the SOPs? What's the diagram? So there's 3 cylinders. There's people, process, and technology. And you have to define, plan, check, and execute on all 3 of those cylinders. So it's where do we start? Well, you start off by calling me. Yes. So we went from 0 day 1. I had 1 manager. He never set foot into a service department. And so I really, really had to start at the pace with him, going all the way back to my days of washing cars. I explained to him everything. And to fast forward the story, day 1, we had a room. There was chairs and boxes, and it was just but I saw the vision. Ask Johnny about that one. He'll tell you, but I saw the vision, and they were like, dude, what are you talking about? Look at this room. I'm like, I see $1 million room, multi-million-dollar room. And they didn't see it, but I'm like, trust me. Fast forward to 8 months, there was now 17 people in that room, documented processes, organizational structure. There was efficiency, the performance-based pay plans, et cetera, et cetera. And within a year and a half, just coming to an end, because I was with them just under 2 years. So by the end of the 2 years, that was actually one of my best years, 2023. The basically the department, because we were now 23 people with 2 managers. Anyway, it was just like this beehive.
Yeah.
And the department cost, I believe it's something like $850,000 with bonuses and everything. And yeah, we generated 17 million.
Wow.
So 17 to 1 ROI is not too bad.
Not too bad at all.
So like, let's talk about the framework.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your approach when you take on a struggling dealership or a client, and how do you identify the key areas that they could improve?
I love that. First things, great questions. So I like the word identify. So I'll just throw this at anybody watching right now, because this is the key to it. I'm literally giving you guys some free stuff. So I call it the 3 I's. You want to identify. Once you've identified what the problem is, you investigate. Once you investigate, you isolate. Super duper important, because when you identify, you might identify 5 problems. This is why it's super important, and I'm super surgical. Like, I get medieval on documented processes, because one of the things is, to your question, when I walk in, one of my first questions, just to kind of get an idea of the ecosystem, is like, okay, how can I help? Where are we struggling? Like, what's broken?
They're like, all of it.
And they're like, all of it. I'm like, well, okay, but in all of it, there's a lot of moving parts. Is it the people? Is it the process? Is it technology? Is it the SOPs? Is it the what? And they're like, what? Okay, we have to start at SOP. So it's really about finding out, it's really about them, not about me. It's not about me coming in with a tsunami, because one thing you have to understand when you're a consultant like me, who specializes in the areas that I specialize in, which is like, I got to get this thing turned around as quick as possible. This is not like just we have all this beautiful time and we have the luxury of time.
They're bleeding, right?
They're hemorrhaging.
Yeah.
Hemorrhaging. So one of the things that, and I love to say this, is you have to establish what is their current state without making them feel bad, right? Because it's already a big move to go outside of your immediate team and go out and get an outside consultant. A lot of your internal managers are, they're not happy, right? So I got to come in very subtle, white gloves. I'm here to help.
And on eggshells.
So it's about including everybody in the process, finding out what's their current state, what is your desired state, and then there's a gap. I live in the gap.
What I find, and I think what you're talking about too, is you're going into these hostile environments, but at the same time, right? They want you there.
Correct.
But what you're doing is you're trying to educate everyone.
Yeah. Well, it's not, I'm trying, because at the end of the day, we have to understand it's a business.
Yeah.
And within a business, there's SBUs, sub-business units. So inside of a dealership, you have new car sales, used car sales, you have the F&I department, sales secretary, the service, the receptionist, the parts department, warranty, the people that make appointments, you have the mechanics, you have the shuttle drivers. All of these people come together to make that guest experience. So this is what I'm trying to say. Like, okay, we're hemorrhaging. Great. Where is it coming from?
Yeah.
Is it because the retention, people are not coming back? Or is it because we're making bad appointments and now, like people, there's like 10 people waiting for the car in the morning? Well, maybe, what's the appointment schedule like? What is is that person trained, et cetera, et cetera. So there's so many moving parts.
Yeah. I like that you say this because, for example, and this might sound like a minute example, but when I was car shopping for my car, I would walk into, obviously I'm going around dealerships, and I was so surprised at how many times I would walk into a dealership and it would take 5 to 7 minutes for someone to come approach me.
Yeah.
And I come from a restaurant background, and like when I was trained as a waiter, they said when the customer sits down at the table, within 2 minutes, they have to have water and bread.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So within 2 minutes of you sitting down in my restaurant on my table, I have to have water and bread. So I have to see you. And I would walk into a car dealership to spend, $50, $60, $70,000 on a vehicle, 80,000, and it's taking somebody 5 to 7 minutes to walk up to me. And that could be a cause for a leak.
I guarantee you, if we get it, we're creating friction before this. We're creating friction before it even starts.
Yeah.
So
bad experience.
So can you imagine that? Like you, this is a real case study right now. You walk in, it's taking 5 to 7 minutes, and you're there to give them your money. And you're there to, like, I just want to buy a car, guys. Like, how are you making this difficult?
Exactly.
And before I even sit down, now you got steam coming out of your ears. So now when you go and sit down with the salesperson, do you think I'm even thinking they're telling me the truth?
But Shawn, can I ask you something like in full transparency?
Yep.
Is it maybe one of their tactics to make you wait, to make you stay at the dealership as long as possible so you're committed?
Absolutely not. No. Listen, it's fine. I call it a lack of leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that's what the culture is, well, then who's making the culture of the dealer at the end of the day?
Yeah.
So no, it's definitely not a tactic. I mean, listen, we've created the bad environment that you guys have come to know today, like for the last 50 years. Like the minute that you think of a car salesman, what are some of the words that come to your mind?
Yeah.
Like you're not thinking transparency, authentic, he has my best interest in, like, no, it's kind of like other words, right? Yeah. So, and it's and I'm just dumbfounded because it's still the same 50 years later.
Yeah.
This is why I do the work that I do.
Yeah. And I notice these little things, like even when I go eat in a restaurant, I notice how long it takes for the waiter to come see me, and how long it takes, how many times did they come check up on me. And when I serve, again, this is the old restaurant background in me talking, but when I serve you your steak, I walk away 60 seconds later, I come back to see if it's okay.
Yeah.
And you know how many times I went to eat at a restaurant and I would get served the food and no one would come back to check on me till it was time to pick up the plate? Yeah. Or how many times I would have to get up and pay for my bill and there's still empty plates on the table. Like, and I would say this too, you know, because it's not the waiter's problem. It's the manager.
Correct.
Because they didn't properly train the staff.
Correct.
You understand? Because I was properly trained in that background, so I understand proper etiquette.
Correct.
And every time I seen improper etiquette in a restaurant, it was because there was a lack of management.
Correct. And then now we're going to go right back to it. Process and coaching.
Yeah.
Process and coaching in every industry. It doesn't matter the industry that you're in. You need documented processes. You need attainable metrics. Like on day one, how can you create metrics for a receptionist? Is it the number of calls? You need to make it clear to them what the expectation is. If they don't know what the expectation is, for sure, the minute that you walk in, you're going to be waiting 7 minutes.
Yeah. No, like nobody came and see me. I'm like,
I totally understand that. So just real quick before we jump to the next question, sorry. One of the things that I do on day one, when I onboard a client and we do the discovery call and everything goes good and we move forward with the project, one of the things that I do, and I love this one, is because no one knows me, right? Especially in the States. And so I'll walk in and I just sit and wait.
Oh, and see what
I do it 7 a.m., 6:30. I'm just there to see, is the door even open? Like I want to get in order to create a guest experience, you first have to create an employee experience.
Yeah. You want the authentic feel of the place.
You want the authentic feel. Are these employees in the morning, are they walking in?
That's it.
Who's late? Who's kind of just stumbling like this? And hey, good morning. How are you? Well, I'm here, ain't I? God, this is terrible. This is what's going to be answered by customers today. So I'm not saying that about any specific client, but my first thing is I just sit in the waiting room and I just start taking notes and it just comes out in the wash.
But I think also like employees' mindsets and attitudes have a lot to do with management and leadership. You know, like I think that if you have a solid management and leadership that sets the tone for the positive working environment, it shows through an employee's behavior.
Yeah, 100%. So the leadership and management, because you manage data and you coach people, you don't manage people. These are adults. I mean, at the end of the day, like, come on, you're managing data and you're coaching people or you lead people. I fundamentally believe that. So yeah, you are absolutely right. The culture is for the leadership in place to instill.
Mm-hmm.
The motivation is the money. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, okay, you could smile at me all you want, man. Like I got bills coming in, there's kids, there's cars, there's all this kind of stuff. So we have to, one of the major things that I also work on with them is the pay plans. You need to incentivize the behavior that you want to see.
Yeah.
Takes away from micromanagement. Mm-hmm. But if you're treating them like children and let's say, I don't know, you want 100 calls and hey, I'll give you, I don't know, $50 if you do 100, whatever the amount is, right? You're telling them what you place value on.
I was going to say that's what they're worth.
Because I can make 100 calls. Maybe I left 75 voicemails. Hey, where's my $50? Oh, yeah, but nobody came in. Well, you said blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. Okay, we'll change that.
Yeah.
You want to incentivize the behavior you want to see. So if your business is about retention, place a lot of the bonus factor on retention. If it's about making appointments, solid appointments, place it on that. If it's about making an appointment, but they have to show, well, then put a lot of weight on that. But it's not just throw money at, just generalization.
And so what I'm hearing is a little bit of like reward results and not actions, I guess.
100%. So there's a little bit of the action, but we have to remember, especially if you're an employee and you're watching this, the organization that you're working for did what they had to do.
Yeah.
You have a desk, you have a computer, you have a phone, you have everything that you need to succeed.
Yeah.
Well, I have to motivate you on top of it.
Yeah.
I love the perspective. Seriously.
Well, I mean,
It's
think
enlightening.
about it. I mean,
Yeah,
at the end of the day, I give you everything that you need to do to take care of your family.
And you're an
I have
adult?
to tell you to answer the phone or the blinking message that's been on for 2 hours. Hey, Giancarlo, can you check your light is on? Oh, yeah, I'm going to get to it after. What are you talking about? Do you understand that the steak that you eat every night is in that, you know what I mean? So, but it's, like I said, it comes down to culture.
Amazing.
Comes down to culture.
So like I'm hearing a lot of lessons and a lot of tips for even businesses outside of your own.
Yeah.
Like what's maybe like the top 2-3 things that you would recommend for businesses outside of the BDC, like that's easily translatable?
Not to get anchored to your current systems. What you're currently doing is giving you what you currently have. So I like to say that in order to get the results you've never got, you got to do the things you've never done. And in order to do the things you've never done, you got to become somebody you've never been.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're really, really anchored on this is the way we've always done it, well, good luck with that. I mean, you'll see some results, but most importantly, so after all that, most importantly, and this is what I've done in my business, and this is literally, and I've started now, which is amazing because my last 5 clients, like I was telling you, is all, now they're all referrals. But hold on for a second. I worked 4 years for those referrals, and I've super elite status.
I'm sure a lot of people told you how lucky you are. They forget all the hard work. They omit it all.
They weren't sleeping with me and my son on the floor on the mattress, eating off of a hot plate with a letter on the door. They weren't there then, but I'm lucky. Yeah, I'm lucky because I flew over 80,000 kilometers last year, and I missed how many soccer games, and my son at school, and it's sacrifice, but there's got to be something at the end of it, right? So one of the things that I would strongly recommend to any organization, because I start working with any organization that relies on retention, my system will work. 100%. If you're into retention, my system will work. So one of the things that I really, really focus on is you need to focus more on trajectory rather than the results.
Yeah.
Because when you focus on the results, it's momentary. You have a good month, bad month, 2 good months, 3 bad. So if you're always in panic mode and making decisions based on your good month, your bad month, or you're comparing your bad month to your good month, you really, really, really need to focus on trajectory. And when we're talking about trajectory, there's the big word. We come around full circle. You need to create, if you want to make a consistent impact in your business, regardless of the business you're in, you need to create systems.
Yeah.
100% systems. How do we do this? And then you break it down.
It's interesting because, I was reading a book, and for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it, but I remember when they were talking about customer retention.
Yes.
And it is more expensive to get a new customer or client than it is to retain your current customers or client. And the expense part of it comes from the onboarding process, and before you're talking about good onboarding versus poor onboarding.
Correct. Yes.
And I think that's very, very relatable, very true, because it is more expensive to get a new client than it is to just keep the existing.
100%. So Toyota Canada, because I started off in Toyota like over 20 years ago. And I think, I don't know if it was them that did a study, but I learned Toyota. So it's very specific. They call it the Kaizen, right? So continuous improvement, like that's all that was in my head. So that's kind of shaped my framework and my blueprint for my business today. But Gucci Gambutsu, go to the source. So Toyota, interestingly enough, literally created, the Model T Fords were all made at one station. Right. And I think, listen, I don't really remember the year, but they really created we're going to do the electrical here. And then we're going to do the tires here and then here. So now what happens is you start to specialize, right? So you get that, what do you call it again? You get that, when it goes from one station to the next,
Like
to the next,
Ford,
to the next. So when you put a bunch of experts together working towards a common goal, that's where the magic happens. Absolutely.
Amazing. So, I mean, let's get a little bit personal.
Yeah, let's go.
Like when you're not helping businesses,
Shawn,
the
arm,
the shining armor.
the shining armor, when you're not helping businesses with their troubles, what are you doing on your free time? What do you like, a hobby, anything?
Yeah. Okay. So my life is really dialed in. It's not for everybody, but it's really dialed in. I have a routine. I do go outside of my routine. First things first, every single morning. And I'll call you guys tomorrow if you don't believe me. Every single morning I'm up at 5 a.m. If it's not 4:40 or 5 a.m. Obviously, there's a discipline to that. I'm in bed by 9:15, because what are you really doing after 9:15? So every single morning for the last 8 years.
Wow.
5 a.m. I don't watch TV. So I wake up at 5, I'm at the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so by the time people are waking up at 7:30 to get ready, I've already destroyed my body. Like I'm at the gym and I'm not just doing like Taibo or like, dude, I go hard. I'm in the paint and I go hard. Why? Because I'm trying to destroy my yesterday self. We were talking about in part 1 about 1% better every day. Well, how do you get better? In order to get better tomorrow, you got to break your yesterday self, right? So I wake up in the morning, boom, gym every day, all the time. When it's summer, motorcycles, love motorcycles. I've been martial arts pretty much all my life. A lot of jiu-jitsu, a lot of Muay Thai. I believe you do jiu-jitsu as well.
Yeah, I started a year ago.
How humbling is that sport?
So humbling.
It's so
I remember my first day in class, I walked in and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I remember my first day too. I walked in because I did wrestling in a high school, so that was my base, Olympic wrestling, and I was really good at it. So I came into my first jiu-jitsu class, and I'm all like, like all like diesel and everything, and I'll never forget this. The teacher looks at me, he's like, "Have you ever done this before?" I'm like, "No, but I see it on TV." We're going way back since before George St. Pierre was in the UFC, like way back. And he said, "Have you ever done this stuff before?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Okay, well today you're gonna be with him." And I look over. I swear to God, the guy was like $160.
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna.
And I'm like 200. I'm like, are you sure?
Yeah.
He's like, have you ever done this before? I'm like, no. He's like, you're going to be with him today.
Yeah.
What ensued after that, dude?
A very humbling
I
experience.
was tapping left and right because he was just armbar, no strength.
Yeah.
Because it's not about strength.
It's not
about tech
and technique.
And I had this
systems.
issue too. First of all, my first day of jiu-jitsu, talk about feeling insecure. And I'm pretty good with insecurity. I know how to manage it, control it. I know how to come off and exude confidence. Talk about feeling insecure. I got out of the mats the first day, and for the longest time, even to this day, a year in, I still catch myself in situations where I'm trying to muscle my way out, but it's not about strength.
Because every single day is different.
It's about technique.
It's about technique.
And I roll with women sometimes, and like they
sure.
pin me down and they post and they keep me there, and I can't.
You can't move.
And the woman's half my size, and I can't move because it's not about strength; it's about technique.
Correct. So if you make that correlation to the business, the distinguishment, systems.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm so focused, to go back to your original question about where do I start with people. When you you need to create the system first. So where do a lot of organizations, especially outside of the car industry, you need to create the system first, then put the right people into that system, as opposed to hiring a bunch of people and making them do something that they're not qualified to do.
So Shawn, you're always working. You're always thinking work. You're always
always
on all
looking,
the time.
always on.
Yeah.
On. Just on.
Just
on.
Except when you're driving your motorcycle.
No, man, because now it's time to okay, I'm calm. I don't have to answer the phone. But no, I'm just on all the time. What's the alternative? I'll sleep when I'm dead, dude.
Yeah.
Like, what's the alternative to being on? Off.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I wasn't born to be average.
And the thing is, people spend their lives stuck in the Netflix and social media and numbing themselves with TV and entertainment, that they don't even see it's as bad as, it's a vice, essentially.
Correct.
Right? And they go home after their 9 to 5, and then they spend 6 to 10 in front of Netflix.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, they think they deserve it. Like, they've earned it.
No,
It's their escape.
But that's their escape, and that's fine. But It's synthetic. Why do you think they call it television programming?
Yeah.
They're programming you.
They want you to be.
They want you to be. So when somebody asks me, hey, Shawn, did you see the new episode of what? I'm like, the new episode of what? Like, I genuinely don't care. Right? And when I do get to Netflix, because you get to choose what you want to watch, I fall asleep. Yeah. So whatever.
And Anthony is a big advocate of not watching too much TV or Netflix. Anthony, how many books are you reading this year, Anthony? Tell us. Tell the people.
The goal is to read 24 books. So 2 books a month.
Nice.
I'm at 6 so far.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And how do you find that?
How do I find that? That's a good
like,
question.
Are you able to absorb all that information?
You know what? That's the thing I struggle with the most is the absorbing part.
Yeah.
Like I find you too, you have that really great ability to pick up and to remember certain things from birth, and I don't have that.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But you're saying right now, I don't. You got to be very careful.
You're right. I still haven't mastered it.
There you go. There you go.
So, but I like it. I think reading books, it's a lot better way to spend your
100%. 100%, because you get to rewire your thought process the way you want.
He told me, he goes, I'm going to read 24 books this year. I said, that's crazy ambitious. Last year my goal was to read 5 books, and I read 7, and I thought that was awesome. So this year I decided to make my goal 10, and he's like, well, I'm going to read 24. And I actually gave him a book, because we're mentors ourselves, and I read a book called The Coach Builder. And I gave him a book.
First of all, just to take it back, he gives me a deadline to read it by.
Yeah, I gave him a deadline.
Right now, I'm reading Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I'm
Absolutely.
like, I am so in on, like, I cannot read anything else.
I didn't think he was going to do it. And then 2 days before the deadline, he's like, hey, so I finished the book yesterday. I read it in 1 day, 200-something pages, 1 day. That's crazy.
Well, this is a testament that you get good at whatever you put your mind to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you want to marathon Netflix, hey, guess what? You'll get good at that.
Yeah.
Right? So life is hard. Change is hard. Choose your hard.
Yeah. So, Shawn, this was awesome having you, man. But real quick before we go, what's one piece of advice you could tell people struggling in transitioning their career, or someone who might want to turn their expertise into a coaching or consulting business like you did?
Be kind to yourself. And the most important thing, set realistic, be accountable for yourself. And 100%, in order to become the person that you need to become, you need to first create that environment. So if you're around friends currently right now that they just want to go out, party and drink and all that kind of stuff, that's okay too. I'm not saying nothing wrong, but that's not the behavior required to be behind this camera or in front of this camera. Right? I gave up a lot of stuff. You think I don't like wine? You think I don't like going out? Well, instead of doing it all these times. So be kind to yourself, set realistic accountability for yourself. And most importantly, go create an environment where you are celebrated, not tolerated.
Yeah. Love it.
And Shawn, maybe if you could tell people at home where they could find you.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I live on LinkedIn, so hit me up on LinkedIn. You'll hit me up like even at 3 a.m. I'm just turning over. Yeah. Hit me up on LinkedIn. I would love to help people out there. It's not about the money; it's about being of service. So if anybody's struggling and you continue to struggle, it's a choice you're making, because I'm here to help. I'm sure you guys are too. So reach out to these guys. But yeah, absolutely, hit me up on LinkedIn. You can visit my website, bdcalchemy.com. Or you can email me at shawn@bdcalchemy.com.
Awesome, Shawn. It was great having you, man.
Thank you so much, guys. I really had fun, man. This was fun.
Yeah.
This was fun.
And guys, for anyone listening, watching, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you know what to do. Hit that like, hit that follow button. And until next time, take care.
Ciao, ciao.